Good evening. My name's Nick Popovich. I am a newer member of RichSEC. I've been a member for about 3 months now, and I'm really excited to be a part of this, kind of connect with local security pros. I am a security analyst in my day job, focusing on incident response, intrusion detection, the normal aspects of a company's security posture. But I also get the opportunity to perform penetration tests. And throughout getting the opportunity to focus on the offensive side of security, I realized how integral that can be to the defensive side of security. A lot of my peers in this space are really sharp at what they do, but they haven't gotten to see actual attacks because they may not have been involved in penetration tests or the technical side of offensive security. And what I hope to show with this demonstration, I know it's kind of a funky title, Captive Portal for Unauthorized Access, is this presentation is really twofold. On the one hand, it's for the security pro who may not have seen some of these attacks, and they are, I mean, for the pen tester in the crowd, it's a basic man-in-the-middle attack, DNS spoofing, and using IP tables to redirect unsuspecting users' traffic. But for somebody who's never seen how easy that is to do, it'll show them, hey, you know what, you can actually learn some of the tactics that attackers, that the folks you're defending your enterprise's network against are using on a daily basis. And then on the flip side, this can actually be used as kind of a user awareness training. We're constantly telling our users things like we have a password policy. Well, nothing shows a weak password better than cracking a password. Similarly, we tell our users when you take your corporate laptop out, you need to use VPN or some sort of encryption technology. And what this demonstration will show you, excuse me, is that an attacker can completely control the user's computing experience by simply being on the same network as them. And when they see that, they may have an aha moment and say, okay, this is why we have these policies, this is why we use these technologies, and you stress about the different things you stress about, whatever that may be. So briefly, what I kind of spoke to what the attack is, well, demo attack, whatever you want to call it. Let's see, this is kind of funky. First time hooking a projector up to Ubuntu, it's kind of weird. I need to move my stuff. Alright, and we'll get my terminal. And because of my awesomeness, I have to look up there to type my commands because I can't see it. Alright. So the attack. We have our victim, and we have our attacker. We are sharing a network connection. I'm going to use ARP spoofing, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it's simply on a switched network you see communication from your device to the gateway and vice versa, except for broadcast traffic. Well, ARP, Address Resolution Protocol, being broadcast, I'm going to send the victim a packet, an ARP packet that says, I'm the gateway, and vice versa, I'm going to send the gateway a packet that says, I'm the victim. So all the traffic is going to flow through my machine. That's the first step. So let's get that going. Excuse me. So we're going to use a tool from the, before I get into that, I'm going to quickly run in our desktop session on our attacker so that you can actually see the screen here, because I can see it, but you can't. And hopefully we won't be visited by the dark specter of demos. Down Control C, right? Make sure I'm connected. Oh, that would be a problem. Where's my mouse? Okay, yeah, we're good. It's a little messed up on the IP address there, no worries. Really? No worries, no worries. We will adjust fire. let's try that again on our desktop. Forget that. Bummer.
Just turn it.
Yeah, I'll just show you guys. So on the micro screen here, I'm going to start up a quick Wireshark session on the attacking PC, or the attacking computer, excuse me, and just demonstrate how when I browse the internet on this computer, you can't see it, but then you can. All right, we're going to filter by HTTP traffic. Before I run this. All right. So now, you actually need to see the screen for this. I'm browsing the internet, and it's exciting. The internet is an amazing place. So while you see me browsing here, you don't see anything up here from this source. You see some
How about you turn around?
madness. Well, the source IP address is not 192.168.5.1, so not worried about that. So now, I'm going to begin ARP spoofing using a package from dsniff. Oh, yeah, that's not okay. All right, so anyways,
Thank you.
it's multiple monitor thing is weird. So anyways, as I browse the internet, you don't see anything from the victim until I begin ARP spoofing. So I'm going to use a tool called, aptly named ARP spoof from the dsniff suite. It's pretty simple. You ARP spoof specify the interface, the target, I'm saying the gateway, and I want the gateway to think I'm the victim. So I'll start that and I'm redirecting the output. And then I'm going to switch it up and say, victim, I am the gateway. Trouble?
No.
I was going to say, you see something messed up with my commands, let me know now, because if I get down the road, we're going to be upset. So now, all of a sudden, you should start seeing the traffic from my victim, and the source is 5100. Now my IP address, as you saw earlier, is 101. So now I have, just by doing two commands, I have created a man-in-the-middle attack, and all this user's web traffic is going through my laptop. All right, we're going to stop looking at Wireshark because it's freaking me out.
Can the second machine know by can it determine its gateway to know that you've done that?
Well, it's a constant and steady ARP. ARP spoof is still running, constantly bombarding it, and since there's no authentication or authorization with ARP, it just constantly keeps getting a.
Can I do ifconfig on the
You would be able to. So if you did ARP-A, you would be able to see the gateway's MAC address also matches the MAC address of another host. The only time that I've seen, usually this is not controlled or mitigated, and that's another good point. Thanks for bringing it up. I'm also going to show you the tag, the demo, and how nasty it is, but I'm also going to talk about mitigation steps. So to get to that, static ARP entries, obviously if you statically set the ARP entry of the gateway, it's going to take precedence over dynamic ARP entries. So that is one real quick thing to do when you're on a network out, static ARP entry for the gateway. Other things like the network infrastructure having something like ARP Watch, or being able to watch, okay, I see forged ARP packets slinging away on my network, excuse me. I need to either terminate that connection, or there's something going on. I don't want to accept ARP packets from this crazy host because it's broadcasting, it's crazy, it's madness. So in my experience, networks usually don't have that kind of setup, and even host intrusion prevention systems, sometimes they'll set up and they'll be able to detect ARP poison attacks, sometimes they don't. So I will say, now I haven't been on thousands of engagements, but I have not yet had this attack not work. So this attack is interesting in that it also uses a social engineering flare. I don't want to get too caught up in jaw-jacking because I do that. But we're going to use, so now we've gotten to man in the middle. We're aware of that. Now we're going to talk about the setup. Your sudoers file, in my sudoers file, I have these entrances, which is basically I'm allowing the account running my Apache to run some commands, running some IP tables rules. This is all going to tie together in a little bit. And then it's also going to run a script called rmtrack right here. So rmtrack is simply the contract package, and not to get too detailed in that, it's going to remove connection information, because right now I'm spoofing this user. In a moment, I'm going to use IP tables to force all of this user's traffic to my web server, serve up a page that I control. And I'm going to force the user, I'm going to socially engineer, whatever you want to say, the user, convince the user to open a Trojanized Word document, which will give me a remote shell on their PC, and they're going to think they're opening a document to get their browse internet access code. It is an attack that relies on the user's hubris and ignorance, but it has not worked yet. So let's talk about the IP tables rules we're about to add. You can ignore some of my comments here. The first two rules are going to allow DNS out. This attack, the user needs to allow themselves to get exploited, and we need to make it real easy for it as the attacker. So we're going to spoof the DNS so their address bar doesn't show something like 192.168, something crazy. It's going to show a good-looking URL, whatever you want it to be. But it needs a good DNS query out because we're going to spoof it. Next, we're going to allow connecting to our machine on port 804, representing Richmond, with the Metasploit, or the interpreter is going to connect back on port 804. That's our area code for you Boston folks. Now we'll create a new chain called Internet right here. We're going to send all traffic through Internet, basically. Here we're going to take all traffic that comes through the Internet chain and mark it with an arbitrary value. I've chosen 99 just because I like get smart. If you don't get it, that's fine. Here we're going to say if the packet's marked with 99 and the destination port is 80, DNAT or destination NAT it to my machine, my web server. I hope that's my machine. Let me make sure. Yeah, 101. We're good. Don't worry about it. All right. And then after that, anything else, if it's marked 99 and it comes into IP tables, nuke it. So I'm using Leo here, which is a nice little, I can find my mouse. So let me make sure they're not there already. I'm going to run this because Leo lets you run scripts from it. It's a nice little IDE. I just ran the IP table scripts, and we can check it out real quick. Make sure that the app are there, so we're good to go. All right. Now, I told you we need to DNS spoof. We're going to use another tool, aptly named DNS spoof, from the dsniff suite. Similar syntax, DNS spoof, interface, and the host file. Oh, let me talk about the host file real quick. So the host file simply is IP address, the name you want it to be. The URL of the malicious website this person's going to is wootage.com, simply because that's what I chose to use. So, I like Wootage. We're going to run it. So now, not only have a man-in-the-middle tag going right now, I've now said, got my IP table rules running, and I've got DNS running. And if we don't get visited by the terrible dark specter of demos, and this is one where I really wish you guys could see up there. I'm going to open the internet, because the internet is in that little icon. And I'm going to go to Google. And we see, instead of going to Google, we go to what looks like, I randomly got the Verizon Files page. If somebody's from Verizon, thanks. On our handy dandy monitor, that when I typed in Google, it went to wootage.com, index.php, and it took the original requested URI and added it to the add parameter you see here. And we're saving that for later because what we want to do is down here we have our super social engineering verbiage. And they have to enter an access code to be able to browse. Now, obviously, you're going to do something more subtle, like your access code is contained within the terms of service and generated. Please enable content, because this is just a Word document with a macro, a weaponized Word document. Thanks, Metasploit. So, anytime the user types in anything, we'll go to whatever. It is going to force the user, because of the IP tables rules and the marked packets, right back to my web server and take their original request and add it to the add parameter. Now I'm going to save it so that when they do open their Word document and they allow me in with my shell access to their computer, they're going to see their code is generated. They're going to type it in and they're going to go to the internet. The reason they're going to do this, switching to the other computer. Now we're going to go over the PHP file that is the final leg of this journey you guys have been so patient with me on. PHP file has a lot of magic that it handles. And we're going to look at it real quick. So when a request comes in, the first part of the PHP file basically just is the name that you want to be spoofing. So here you see I have www.woodage.com. We need the path for ARP. You'll see why later. This file is just going to contain users that register with our captive portal. And this is the brunt of the magic here. This bit of PHP says, if the request comes in and hits me, and it's not an expected value, woodage.com, make it woodage.com. That is why you need to spoof DNS for woodage.com to you. That's where the DNS spoofing comes in. And it also says, and take the original requested URI and add it to the add param. Storing that for later when we are going to forward them on. Now it's going to get the user's MAC address because we're going to use the MAC address later. You'll see why. And then there's the code value. If code does not equal 1234, display the web page. The HTML, all this stuff you see here, or you saw here earlier, the Verizon page. Now, if the code does equal 1234, i.e. the user has opened your document, given you a shell, and put in their code, it runs down to this bit of PHP here. That function enable address. So first thing it's going to do is put the user's MAC address and some data into our file that I mentioned earlier for tracking later. And it's going to run and add the PC to firewall rules. Basically, it adds the MAC address to the IP table rules before all the packet mangling and marking and denatting and whatnot, so that when that MAC address, it's going to say if MAC equals this, pass to the internet. So while I'm still man in the middling, no more denatting, no more showing on the web page. So that, for all intents and purposes, just going to send them right through the internet. They're going to blissfully browse away while I have a shell on their machine. And then we're going to use the add parameter. Wrong PC. And we're going to use the PHP header function and take that add parameter, which is their original request, and redirect them to the page. So now you're going to need to see it in action. Kinda. One PC at a time. I'm going to try our desktop one more time, because that would be really helpful. It worked earlier, I swear. Maybe I have to do sudo?
Sudo made me a sandwich.
Sudo, maybe.
See people reading PC.
Okay. Who knows? All right. Well, I'm going to pull up our Metasploit page. Or excuse me, I'm going to pull up our Metasploit listener. All the right stuff. So, those of you who are checking it out, yeah, I should be using PC anywhere. Thanks, iMante. If somebody's from here, from Symantec, you guys are awesome. Using Metasploit command line interface, because I'm an old school junkie. I know I'm not using the GUI like I should. Multi-handler, the payload, there it is. It's all there. So we're gonna shoot that up. I'm gonna switch over here real quick. I'm glad that the switching is seamless, though. I haven't ever had that much luck switching between displays. All right, so they finally realized, you know what? We try one more time to go to Google. Try to go to Google, and it doesn't work. They say, okay, well, let me read now. They say, oh, I need to do something. Oh, click here to get your access code. Sounds legit. The internet told me to do it, so I will.
The internet told me to do that.
Apparently, I need to register office. So here we see enable content, security warning, macros have been enabled. Well, I told the user via my social engineering that the code needs to be generated by this document. And then if they scroll down, TOS, the terms of service acceptance codes, if the code's not there, I tell them how to let me hack into them. I say, well, you need to enable these macros because you can't get the code otherwise. So they click enable macros. And bang, there's their code. Really wish you could see this monitor. All right, so before I switch over and show you that I now have a Metasploit shell on their box, I'm going to say, okay, they see the code 1, 2, 3, 4. Now they input the code 1, 2, 3, 4 into their handy dandy browser, and bam, now they're browsing the internet, unaware that they just gave me access to their box. And to prove it, we're going to do a final switcheroo. Yeah, I said switcheroo. That's terrible. So, the moment that I clicked enable macros on that Word document, that shot my malicious Metasploit payload, interpreter shell, to me. And I have remote access on the victim PC. And that's bad. It was a journey, but we got there. It was a journey. So, an interesting attack. What is it? How do you use that? Well, if you're a pen tester, you would have thought of that anyway. But for the user who wants to take this away, a man-in-the-middle attack is a powerful and easy way to demonstrate to the users how unsafe the networks outside of your perimeter can be. And that's all I've got. We could talk about it, talk shop, later. Now, we're going to give it over to our sponsors because they do great things.